Hey, we got somebody here already. We'll be on right now. Hey, welcome to Principles on the Come Up Facebook Live program, where today we're going to be talking about using data to create instruction. You remember this? You remember this? Boy, we drove miles for this. We drove miles for this. The store was out of this for months. And did we keep an account of how much of this we had left at the house? That was that was data. We were keeping track of this. I don't want a 4-pack. I don't want a 12-pack. I want a 24-pack. And then we kept an account of, you're using too much of it. Where am I going to get any more of this? We tried to order it online. It'll be here next week, and then the next week, and then the next week. Well, what are we going to do with the information that we had, what we had with this data? Well, let's see how we can transfer keeping up with this data the same way we're having to keep up with data on our campus with our students. I know that that was critical back then. Oh, and I don't ever want to go through that again. But there's something that we need to consider when we're talking about data and how to create our instruction. So, how many of you hate disaggregating data? I know before I knew what to do, I hated disaggregating data because I thought everybody thought that I knew everything about the data, and I thought that's what I was expected to do. So, have you ever felt like you've been bombarded with data? You got the spreadsheets, you have the charts. Of course, you have a report card, which is kind of simple data there. And then, of course, you have your state assessments. Oh my goodness, when we talked about state assessments, man, we had meetings here, meetings there to talk about the state assessment. We were looking at the clock, looking at the days when the data was going to be released so that we could see exactly, what our kids did on the test, on the state test, looking at that data. And what would happen if you decided when and what data was important? And we're talking about right now. We're talking about in our space of COVID, in our space of remote learning. We're talking about right now because we are in the season of testing. And that's something, with all the things that are going on, we still have to be concerned about testing. And we have to be concerned about data. And even if it wasn't that time, we still, as teachers, as principals, assistant principals, counselors, coaches, we're going to have to be concerned about data all the time because that's how we create our instruction. So today we're going to be looking at 3 ways for you to use data to enhance your instruction. The first is review the data, review the disaggregated data to track and monitor progress. The second thing we're going to do is to use action to correct your instruction. Use action to correct your instruction and build protected time into the master schedule. Hi, my name is Dr. Barbara Polk, and I am a consultant here in the state of Texas. I was assigned to one of the lowest performing schools in Texas, and we turned that school around. I was also sent to schools in school districts in Texas that had been identified as low performing to get those schools turned around because of the success that we had at our school. And was also accepted into Harvard Graduate School of Education, where we studied ways for us to help campuses that were low performing to get those campuses up to a high standard and keep them there where they wouldn't turn around. So if you have problems with teachers blaming students for poor assessment, this is you. This is for you. If you know that teachers need more conducting of formative assessments, this is for you. If you're not seeing improvement in student assessment data, this is for you. What I want you to do right now, I want you to hit that like button. I want you to hit that share button, because you have some colleagues out there who need to hear this information. They really need to hear this information, because we run away from data. You know, we interpret data all different kinds of ways. So if you're not seeing that kind of improvement, we want you to hit that like button, hit that share button, so that others can get this information, because this is going to be some good stuff, y'all. This is going to be some good information for you to be able to take back to your school and to share with your teachers and your future leaders, your teacher leaders, in order to get your schools where you need them to be. So you can also join us on our Facebook group, which is Facebook group, which is called Principals on the Come Up. And every Monday at 5 on Principals on the Come Up, along with our Facebook group, our YouTube, we're talking about things that we need to do in order to help our students. So we're going to cover some things that talk about teaching you how to track your data and how to monitor your student success. And a lot of that comes through your teachers monitoring and doing their formative assessment. Now, I know that whether you are doing online or whether you're doing face-to-face, in order for you to have a good instruction, in order for you to look at your lesson plans and to make changes on your lesson plans, it depends on tracking your data, and that data is going to come from your formative assessment. Now, with your formative assessment, you have now with your virtual, you have emojis that you can use with your virtual assessment. You have your online polls. You have your virtual exit tickets. You have your photos. You have your videos. Those are ways for you as teachers, for you as administrators, when you are observing classrooms. Those are ways to use formative assessments, besides using the way that we did it before we had virtual. There are lots and lots of ways, but those are some that you can use with your virtual instruction. We're going to talk about planning instruction and what occurs when you don't have enough protected time to have your instruction, where your schedule is not allowing you the kind of time that you need in order to analyze your data, to study your data, and to have your PLCs and to come up with ways for you to improve your data. You know, as a principal of one of the lowest performing schools in my district, and one of the lowest performing schools in the state of Texas, when it came to analyzing data, we had all kinds of data. We had data from the school district when we did our curriculum-based assessments. You have data from your state assessment. You have spreadsheets of data. You have data for attendance. You have data on your children who are your English language learners. You have data on your special ed students. And then you break those down into different categories. We have all kinds of data. And we just try to work with all of the data. I mean, we had a room with walls all full of data, and we went from one wall to the next looking at data. But what we learned is that we were going to have to decide what kind of data that we were going to look at that was going to have the greatest impact on instruction in the classroom. And what we realized was that the data that we received from our formative assessments in the classroom, and what we're saying now, the formative assessment with the virtual instruction, where you can use emojis, where you can have your students to do a happy face or a sad face in your comment sections, where you can use online polls, and that will be something that the students can do to let you know or give you the kind of feedback that you need. Your virtual exit tickets. Your virtual exit tickets can be those tickets that can give a simple, yes or no check. It can be just that simple. Or it can actually be where the students are allowed to go in assigned rooms, work in pairs, and then bring back the information that you need to determine if the students are actually receiving the kinds of information that the teacher was supposed to be teaching that day, whatever that particular goal was for that day. And that's an opportunity for the teachers to know, to be able to disaggregate the standard and make sure that they are teaching the standard and that the children are understanding the standard. And you break it into chunks where they can understand. And then you take that information and you are creating your data. What occurs when you have the data, you take that data into at least have one opportunity for the teachers in that grade level or in that content level to prepare their lesson plans where they're asking the same questions for your exit ticket or for your virtual formative assessments, the same questions. And then when you get to your PLCs, then you look at that data and you will see that there are some teachers whose students did exceptionally well, and there are some students, some teachers whose students did poorly. And don't you know what it feels like when you are in a PLC and you hear teachers starting to blame the students? Raise your hand if you've experienced that. I know I've experienced that. Well, they just didn't get it that day. So what you have to do is create an environment, principal, create an environment in your PLCs where teachers understand that this is not a game of gotcha, that this is a game. This is not a game of your kids did better than my kids, or yeah, if I had those kind of kids, my kids would be doing better, would be doing as good as yours. It's not that kind of game. It's not that kind of game. What we're looking at with that assessment, with that data that you have, is to have conversations about what these formative assessments look like and what are the elements that need to be retaught in the classroom. So for example, if you are doing, you have evidence of formative assessment, you have that data, say in math, and there are several steps that have to be done in math. And you notice as you bring your students' work to your PLCs, before you bring the work, you go through and you see that all of them are having problems with the third step. Are you having at least 50% of them that are having problems with that third step? So when you are in the PLCs, that's your opportunity to say to the other teachers, well, tell me how you taught this, because I see the majority of your kids got it. And 50% of my kids just didn't get it. Can you show me how you teach this? So this is an opportunity right in your PLC for that teacher to get up and teach that lesson. And then that teacher will say, oh, I see. I was missing that part, or I was calling that part this, where you're calling it something else. So why are you calling it that? And then you may find out through some additional information is that the teacher who taught that grade the year before, this was the language that they were using, and those kids understood that language. You called it something else, and they didn't understand that language. Something as simple as that. Using data to create your instruction. So when you go back, when you are preparing your lessons with your team, then you look at what you taught, what your results were, and know that you have to continue on with your instruction, because your instruction is not going to be static. It's not going to be staying in one place. You have lots and lots of other information to cover. So you're going to add that, and then you're going to continue on with your new information that you're going to build on. So that is one thing that you need to think about when you are looking at your data. How are you going to create correction? You correct your correction through your planning. When you plan as a team, you create your correction. So what occurs when you don't have enough protected time in your schedule to discuss data? And this is something that needs to be discussed right now. Right now, your counselors, your principals, your assistant principals, they're planning the schedule for next year. They're planning the schedule for next year. And this is the time for you as the principal, you as the team leader, you as the assistant principal, to get with your teachers. You see an area where you're really struggling, and you have been receiving information from your teachers that the schedule that they currently have, they don't have enough time to be able to dig into the data while they're in their PLCs because of their schedule. We change the schedule. Change it. Change the schedule. Now, sometimes, as the principal, I've been known to ask for the schedule change, and I have been denied the schedule change. But I also understand that if you have a passion for helping children, and if you have a faculty and a staff who have that same passion that you have, you will figure out a way to adjust your schedule throughout the day. I can't tell you how to do it, but I tell you, if you have the passion for it, if you have the desire for it, if you want your students to excel, you will do whatever it takes, as long as it's not illegal or immoral, to help your children get to where they need to be. So that's what you need to be looking at. So what I have experienced during my time of turnaround, and I have had excellent opportunities to turn schools around. Data is something that always seems to scare the administrative team. And there's nothing to be afraid of. And even when there's some data that the district expects you to know, don't be afraid to say, can I get some help? Don't be afraid to say, can someone in central administration help me or help us or help our team understand what this means? Don't be afraid to say with your service center, can I send somebody that's at the service center? Can they help me? Can we have a Zoom of 5 or 6 teachers? And you know what you're going to find out? You're going to find out that you're not the only one that's asking questions about disaggregating your data. And the issue is, once you disaggregate your data, you have to know what to do with the information that you have. Because as it's always said, that data from those tests, that's an autopsy, it's all over. But that data that you are getting right there on campus on a daily basis while you're doing your instruction, your formative assessment data, your exit tickets, your maybe Friday, you may call it a special day where you have come up with an assessment to see where your students are. Then you need to have a beginning point, a midpoint, and an end point. You need to be able to be checking to see that students are improving. It's the same way we did, with the toilet tissue back at the beginning of the pandemic. You checked Walmart, you checked Target, you checked HEB, you check Kroger. You were looking for the change. You were looking for the change. You were not just going to stand still and let things just stay like they were at your house because you needed toilet tissue. And you were going to do a constant change. Oh, going to Amazon. You were keeping track of the change because you knew that your stockpile of toilet tissue was going down and that you were going to need some more. You may have even contacted friends and say, meet me on the highway. You got some over there, bring some over here. And that's the same kind of issue. That's the same kind of passion that we should have for our students. And when we find that we have, first of all, built the capacity of our teachers, when we have a solid lesson plan that anticipates all the learning that and the kinds of questions students may have, and be prepared for that. And then once we do our instruction, we have some formative assessments in place. Taking that data, and I'm not talking about deciding, 2 or 3 minutes after you've done your instruction, well, let me ask them this kind of question. No, that question needs to be included when you write your plans, when you and your team write your plans. That needs to be included there. And then let's keep an accounting of the data. That's an opportunity also for your children to keep account of their data. That's an opportunity for you to use, all kinds of charts, any kind of mind mapping or thinking maps for them to use to be able to keep up with their data as well. When you go to the doctor and the doctor is telling you that you need to take this medicine to bring your blood pressure down. And then when you go to the doctor's office and the nurse takes your blood pressure, the first thing you want to know is, what was my blood pressure? And the reason you're asking is because the doctor has told you to bring it down. So it's just like the students. You have met with your students. You have told them where you want them to be. They have agreed that this is a good place for them. And then as the assignments are done, when they get the results of whatever assessment it is, they want to know because they want to see how close they are. They want to see how much progress they made because you're working as a team. And then, of course, the thing that is the most important thing that needs to be thought about right now is, do you have enough time in your school day, within your schedule? Is there enough time allowed for you to do the kinds of planning and the kinds of in-depth questioning about instruction? And that's the key. That's the key. So as you see the ticker across the screen, Calendly.com, BEP54, you just click onto that. And that would be an opportunity for you to ask me the kinds of questions so that we can grow you. We can grow you where you are. I am a consultant. I go from school district to school district, and my success record is just flawless. And I want to be able to help you. I want to be able to help children who are our low-income kids. Want to help children who are in schools that have been identified as low performing. We want to help to turn those schools around, where they can say that our school was once a school nobody wanted to go to. Now we have to stop people from trying to come over here. And that's going to be the goal. So I want you to contact me. We can have, a 15-minute talk about whatever your challenges are. Talk about the changes that you can make, because you start off with small challenges. You can't eat a 2-ton elephant all at once. You can only eat a 2-ton elephant one bite at a time. And that's the way we do with instruction. So schedule your Calendly appointment, 15, 20 minutes. We talk about this so that I can come to your school to help you turn that school around, where your school will be the school that everybody wants to go to. Also, don't forget about hitting that like button, hitting that share button, because I mean we'll have this will replay again, and there's still some people who need to see this. There's some people who need this to be shared with, because everybody didn't talk to people the same way we're talking here. Because if you are a first-year principal, a second-year principal, a lot of this you don't know. And I had to learn the hard way. And I don't want you to learn the hard way. I want you to be able to hit it and quit it and go on and build your reputation and get ready to move on, where you can help somebody the same way that I'm helping you. So we're going to close today. Facebook Live, 5 p.m. Principals on the Come Up. PCU's Principals on the Come Up. We'll be back next Monday at 5 p.m. where we will be talking more about instruction to bring our students up to where they need to be here in this year, 2021. Principals on the Come Up. Go to that page, join our Facebook group, and get more and more information, more networking for you to be able to do a better job as a principal. So we'll be saying good evening, and we'll see you next Monday. Thanks.